Welcome to the Podium Proof F1 podcast. My name is Frank Alessi.
I'm David Alessi.
Max Verstappen is your back-to-back 2022 world champion. He dominates at Suzuka in his 12th win of the season and puts 27 seconds to second place. All the while, there's controversy that affects almost every garage in the paddock in some way, shape, or form. Let's get it.
We got a lot to get into.
Boy, do we.
Buckle
First things
up.
first.
Let's
Congratulations to Max Verstappen on one of the best seasons we've seen ever in F1.
Yes.
It rivals those of Lewis Hamilton as of late, Seb Vettel, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna. I mean, some of the truly dominant seasons and names of this sport.
Yep. Absolute dominance. Congrats to him. Congrats to the whole team, because that's as dominant as Max has been, as fantastic of a driver as he is. It is 100% the dominance of the team. So hats off to all of them at Red Bull. So before we get too deep into this, if you're catching this on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. If you are listening to this on the podcast, in the description there will be a link to the YouTube video if you care to watch it there or listen again. There will also be a link to our link tree, which will take you to all our social media. Give us a follow and a like and a comment or a DM, whatever you're feeling like there. And also, if you're seeing this on YouTube, down in the bottom left there is a QR code that will take you to said link tree. So, all that stuff out the way, let's talk about some whiskey.
So, I alluded to this earlier in the year that I was going to break this stuff out at some point. And I don't know. I don't think I'm not gonna do a full flight, but
that's a long flight.
Well, I was just gonna say of the Ghost series.
Okay.
But some of these bottles of I'm gonna be drinking Whistle Pig single barrel rye tonight. These are all, they have the 10-year label on them, but these are all store picks that I have lined up behind me here, and none of them are 10 years old. I can tell you that right now. These are some special bottles to me. Couple of these bottles are 17, 18-year-old whiskey, rye whiskey. And out of my top 5 bottles that I own, 2 or 3 of them are in this line that I have going right here. I mean, they are just absolutely unbelievably good. I don't know what else to say about them. I mean, whatever ones I'll pick, I'll run through them a little bit, but they are just absolutely unreal. If you have a chance at any of your local stores and they do a Whistle Pig store pick or single barrel, for one, if you like the store, support them because they're not cheap to do a whole barrel for the store. So show them that support and help them out and buy a bottle. But you're getting fantastic whiskey.
Oh, yeah. Now,
you can rest assured.
On that topic, though, like a lot of the ones you have are anywhere from 15 to 18 years old. I think for the most part, they're on the older end of that scale. I think mine, which one do I have?
You have the Ghost 4.
Ghost 4, which I think that's one of their younger ones, actually. I think that was like a 15 or a 16.
No, it's not. It's not that old. I
Was it
don't
not
believe.
that? So
There's
the
like
the
a sweet.
thing, the
The
thing is though, like the way Whistle Pig was doing it, they had all these barrels set aside for barrel picks, and a lot of them just that got passed over the years have just continued to age, still staying in that single barrel option. Um, so it was possible to get some really old barrels. However, my understanding is that either that has just dwindled down enough or Whistle Pig has kind of put a stop to being able to do that. Or
well,
if
yeah.
you're going to, because like the ones that we have, they are all labeled as and sold at the 10-year price. But I think what they have done, because I've seen a handful of other ones with people posting pictures, and they got a single barrel Whistle Pig, and they may have said that it was like 17 or 18 years old, but those were labeled and sold as the 15-year, which is significantly more.
So all these that I have here were a product of COVID. What Whistle Pig decided to do was, being that nobody was going out, everybody was locked in, and how we all know how that went. They decided to make some of these older barrels they were set aside for certain distinctions, but they made them available to the single barrel program. Whether they had been there for something else or in the single barrel program and had got looked over or whatever, yada yada yada. They made these incredible barrels available for about anywhere from 60 to 80 bucks.
Okay, so it was a little more intentional than what my understanding of the whole thing was.
Yeah. It was definitely intentional. It was not by accident. I can promise you that, because the 18-year Whistle Pig, for those of you who aren't huge into whiskey, runs about $450 a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
The Boss Hog, which is like their flagship release every year, typically runs about
Retail's 500.
450 to 500 and is usually in that 18-year range. So will I pull the trigger on a $70 bottle that's 15 to 18 years of Whistle Pig all day, every day? Yes. Yep. Call it an investment. Call it not an investment because it doesn't appreciate. Whatever. I don't care.
Not once it's opened.
I like drinking good whiskey in this house, and when you can get that kind of deal, you do it.
Oh, yeah.
You don't ask questions, and you don't apologize.
Yeah. Nope. Full send. Just go for it.
So let me go ahead and pour.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm waiting for here.
Yeah, with that being said, go ahead and pour some. That bottle's getting a little low.
Dude, they all are.
I mean, if that's the Ghost one, then that's probably your oldest one.
This is called the Snow Ghost, which is from Hocus Pocus. This is the first of the Ghost line of Whistle Pigs. It is, I don't have an age on this one. I don't believe this one was super old. This one is 103.7 proof of rye whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, again, absolutely fantastic bottles. That one lone one that I have is just absolutely killer. So, all right. So I am also gonna stick with some rye tonight. Not gonna go quite as high end, doesn't have as cool of a story, not nearly as old. But this one that I'm starting with is a Sazerac Rye store picked by none other than our favorite Hocus Pocus. And this one was, correct me if I'm wrong here, this was like one of the first, like when they opened up the single barrel program with the Sazerac Rye, if I'm not mistaken. This was out of like, I don't know how early in that it was, but
It was
pretty early on to their doing so.
It was in the first distribution of.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to characterize it.
Yeah,
but
no, that's a good way to put it.
It was in the first distribution of single barrel store pick offerings for the Sazerac.
Yeah. So I mean, nothing special about it. It's still 90
Pretty cool.
proof.
I was glad to get my hands on a few of those.
Yeah. Still 90 proof. I don't think these are age stated.
I haven't opened mine yet.
But I mean, look, if you haven't had it and you can get it, you always need a bottle of Sazerac on your bar. Depending on where you're at, it's going to be anywhere from 20 or hell, 18 maybe to $35 if, at retail. I know down there it's like what, 18, 19 bucks.
Most places
up here it's like 32 to 35.
Most places have it for anywhere between 17 and 20 bucks.
Yeah. And it's awesome. Awesome rye. It's an awesome mixer.
It's one of those go-tos, man, to keep on your bar just for cocktails or whatever.
Yeah, well, and I say mixer. Yeah, I don't mean like mix it with Coke. Please don't do that.
Or do it. However you like to drink it.
Yeah, look, to be honest, yeah, however you like it, do it that way. But it's, I don't know. I don't much care to mix anything other than like a Jim Beam or something like that. But to each our own.
Well, in the summertime,
it's great.
It's nice to put an ice block, for safety and hydration purposes.
Yeah, mix it with some lemonade. That's always good.
I was just thinking ice, but whatever.
Hey, look, when it's really hot outside and you're not wanting just like whiskey neat, throw a little lemonade in it, it's damn good.
I actually do that. A little cheat too. Get you a little of the, you could buy it like in the cocktail section of any store. It has the maraschino cherry syrup. Like just the syrup that goes in the cherries. You can buy that. And put your little splash of that in there. Put that in a shaker. Or you can make it as big as you want over some ice. It's a badass summer drink.
I hadn't done it with the cherry
Right,
syrup.
just changes it completely, but it's awesome.
I have to give that a whirl. I love me some lemonade. That's what's in my other cup right now.
So, all right. Enough of that. Let's get into Suzuka.
Let's do it.
God, what a freaking wet weekend, man. Qualifying was nice and dry.
Mm-hmm. It was the only thing that was dry about the weekend.
I mean, really didn't get a whole lot of running on Friday just because it was so wet. You saw they even had extra time in the session on FP2.
Yeah.
And people just didn't get out there and pound the laps. It was too much.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so weird because Friday FP1 they were saying that this is going to be wet, but Saturday is going to be dry, and it looks like the race is going to be dry. And then
were they wrong?
And then FP2 came, and they were like, I think Sunday we're gonna get some rain. And then qualifying showed up, and they're like, "It's not gonna stop raining tomorrow." So it's like, Jesus, man. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Strap in. It's gonna be a wild one.
Yeah. So
Thank God we've got extreme wet tires for this kind of condition, right?
what a joke that is. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, but I mean to lead off the race itself, Max makes another dominant performance. Comes away with the win. Comes away with he got fastest lap, right? No, he did not. That got stolen away by who was it there towards the end?
Somebody out of the points.
Yeah,
Swiped it at the end.
Yep.
Forget
They
who it
pitted
was.
for a fresh set of inners.
Yeah.
I can't think of who it was now.
Joe.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Good job, Joe. Got the fast lap. Didn't get you a point, but hey, you still got it.
Charles had it for a while.
He did.
And then Fernando sniped it once he put fresh inners on. And then when Joe did it, he got it.
Yep. So, yeah. So Max takes another win. And with everything that happened with this race, with the points and the way that all fell, and some penalties, that gave Max that spread of he needed 112, and the way it sits now, he's at 113 ahead of Leclerc, and that's all she wrote. That locked it in for him.
That's it.
So back-to-back champ, like we said here at the beginning. I mean, well deserved. You know, they have put on a clinic this year and absolutely earned it.
Yeah, I mean, it's what else can you say, man? Pretty much after France, it was almost a wrap. But we still have a hell of a battle going on for second place, as Charles and Checo are separated by 1 point.
Yep.
With Checo sliding in to second place after these results. And let's see here. George Russell is about 45 points back from them. Carlos about 50 back. And then Hamilton's down at 180.
Yeah.
There's a little gap there. But, man, I mean, it should be interesting to see what Ferrari can do with Charles getting P2 over Checo in these last few races.
Yeah.
I mean, look, in equal cars, Checo was roughly half a minute behind Max this week. That's typically where you're at. Charles is capable of hanging with Max on pace. We've seen it time and time again until the tires die. The tires die, and he just starts falling back.
Yep.
If you're Ferrari, what can you do to make sure that doesn't happen? Because if that doesn't happen, Checo's not going to beat him on raw pace. So, I mean, look, it took a penalty for him to get him here. But, either way, man, if you improve the tire situation a little bit, you're probably in the clear.
Yeah. Man, how fun was that to watch though? Those last however many laps it was with
Dude, they had
Checo and
some,
Leclerc.
bro, they had some good battles
Yeah.
going on between Checo and Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Ocon and Lewis.
Yep.
Then you had
Then you
Seb
had
and
Alonso and
Alonso, and
Seb.
Russell was creeping up on them.
Yep.
But Russell was just steady picking people off.
Yeah.
In such a cool place to watch him do it.
Yeah. He was liking, was it turn 6 there? Outside of turn 6, exit
Yeah, that
outside.
final S.
Yep.
And, I'm kind of surprised that they never relayed that info to Hamilton for him to try and get Ocon there.
They might have. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Ocon was putting his car in the right place. I
Maybe
never
so.
actually looked at Ocon exiting that turn, but I'll tell you, man, he was doing a good job of putting his car where he needed to impede Lewis from either getting a good run out of a corner if he got the better, if Lewis got the better entry, or just placing the car perfectly to play defense and to keep himself ahead. He did a really good job of that. He definitely did. He had to work for that spot.
Yeah, no doubt.
I should say he had to work to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Lewis was putting it on him.
Yeah.
He was giving it everything.
Yep. There was a couple times, man, where it looked like it was about to happen, but man, the Mercedes just didn't have the straight line speed. Man, it was crazy to see. Lewis would get such a better run out of the corner, and just the vast difference in straight line speed between those two. Like, he would have a huge run on him, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, all right, well, he no longer has a run on him. Now they're about equal. And now Ocon's pulling back away from him, or pulling back ahead, not away. But
you want to know what's the best irony of this race? It was a wet race. We had some of the best lap after lap after lap battling between cars that we've seen all year in terms of just the whole race, right? Like, yeah, we've seen some great stuff going back and forth with two cars here and there, even packs of 4 and 5 cars. But I'm talking about sustained just battles.
Yep.
For a position that just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What's the one thing that we did not have all race?
What, any wrecks between the two cars battling?
DRS.
Oh. Yeah.
These cars can run together, and you don't need that stupid DRS to make good racing.
Agreed.
You had fantastic freaking battles between Checo and Charles, Lewis and Ocon, Seb and Fernando, and there was a bunch of more down, but those went on for lap after lap after lap.
Yep.
And it was just good old school racing. Where you didn't open up your wing and just blow by them, or you had to legit set your car up in the right places to get perfect runs to be able to make a run at somebody.
Yeah, like you actually had to plan it out,
right?
Multiple, and start setting it up multiple turns in advance. Now what the fans of DRS would say is that, oh yeah, they were racing for lap after lap after lap, but there wasn't a pass.
So what?
Well, yeah, I know. I'm with you.
You don't,
and
in my opinion, you don't have to have a pass to have good racing.
Right. Well, and clearly there wasn't a pass because That driver didn't earn it.
But here's the thing, dude. Like, pick one of those battles. You saw things this race that you haven't seen all year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had, like with Charles and Checo, how cool was it lap after lap watching him just try and take that inside line on the hairpin
Oh, yeah.
time after time and close it up, man. Almost maybe even get in front a couple of times. But then Charles just have the grip on the outside and pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like every time it was like, man, is he going to get him this time? Is he going to get him? And you just didn't know. But like, had that been DRS, you know, it's like you throw something like that into one of those corners and then you open up the freaking flap and you drive by him.
Right.
And you'd have been robbed of all that. And this way you had lap after lap of excitement, man. It was great racing.
Dude, I mean, it was freaking edge of your seat excitement.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ocon and Lewis, dude, that was an awesome battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Again, lap after lap after lap.
It was,
just
dude,
going at it.
I wanted to go back and look and see exactly how long that went on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a while.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yep. So, all right, let's kind of work our way through the field here. You know, we covered Red Bull.
Max is dominant.
Yeah,
good Lord.
We touched on Ferrari, but let's elaborate on that a little bit more. So, Charles comes across the stripe in P2.
Well, hold on. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Charles looked to be in good shape. He was hanging right there with Max. Until his tires started to go. Forget what lap he really started to drop back, but I know he hung his fastest lap on lap 10, which is the same lap that Max did his.
Yeah.
He was half a second quicker on that lap than Max was. So, you know, the tires start going. He starts dropping back to eventually he is just royally struggling on the tires. Very little grip, very rough conditions. And he was on the limit. He was essentially driving on the limit for half of that race.
Oh, yeah.
With the way those tires just died.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I mean, he was steady losing, what was it, like a second to a second and a half a lap to Max?
Yeah.
All the meanwhile, Checo was gaining a second to sometimes a second and a half a lap on him.
It kind of varied. It would bounce anywhere between half a second to a second and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he reeled him in. It
took a while. It took a little while.
Yeah, it took him a little bit. I mean, it was right towards the end.
Hard to go by. It had about 10 minutes left.
Yeah. It was right towards the end when them two got together. And you know, we got quite a handful of laps of Checo trying. And just like with Ocon and Hamilton, I mean, it was exciting as hell. And then, man, last lap, come down to the hairpin, and Leclerc tried to go too deep on the brakes.
No, that was the last chicane.
Yeah,
it wasn't a hairpin.
All right, my bad. I did say hairpin. No, chicane. Gets in a little too deep on the brakes, can't make the turn, and he blows right through it.
I wouldn't say blows through it.
Well, I mean, he
for,
blew through it.
For a visual, yeah.
Yeah. Crosses the stripe in P2 still. However, after the race, he was handed a 5-second penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage.
They need to just change that to leaving the track while you're in a battle.
Right.
Because an advantage he did not gain.
There was advantage lost from that. When they went into the chicane, they were nose to tail plus a little bit. There was a little bit of a gap.
It was half a second at that point.
And when they exited, when he came back on the track and Checo exited the chicane, Checo was halfway up Charles's car. So where does gaining an advantage happen? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing where there was an advantage gained.
Another problem for me with this penalty is it didn't happen in the midst of Checo launching a pass on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like Checo sent one up the inside and Charles just ran through the chicane.
Right.
Like that's a very different thing when you snatch a break and you have to go through the chicane and somebody is trying to pass you and you straight line it through the chicane.
Right.
So my biggest grievance with this penalty is the FIA and their stewards and their insistence that they, strive to be consistent and to look at previous precedents set and penalties handed out for similar instances.
It's hard to be consistent when it's different people and issued the previous penalties.
Either way, that doesn't matter. We have a precedent for this. Mm-hmm. Ironically, it was this year with the same two drivers.
Yep.
Except this time, it was reversed. Checo attempted to pass Charles at the chicane in Silverstone, ran through the chicane. When he came back, pushed Charles off the track, took the position. Hamilton passed both of them, and there was no penalty needed because it was racing. It was a racing incident.
Yeah.
So
tell me again how they look at previous incidents.
If we're being consistent here, how do we assess a penalty to Charles in this situation?
Right. Yeah, I mean they say time and time again.
I wish somebody in power would bring that up because it's a great comparison, and I want to hear an answer as to how you justify no penalty here and penalty here.
Yeah. Well, and again, that was this year. Let's also go back to last year, which, I know there's been an overhaul of the stewards and the way all that's done. Still, what track we were talking about earlier? Damn it, what track was it? Saudi? Yeah. Mm-hmm. When Lewis went off track,
when Max went to pass him,
clear advantage, a massive advantage, and received no penalty, but was deemed that, he gave the advantage back. When you could see visually, you didn't even need
Max passed him.
You didn't need the telemetry. You could just visually see that the advantage was gained like massively.
Yeah, and a place was taken.
Yeah. So it's like, how can you really say that, we look at previous instances of the same situation to determine how to assess a penalty?
Right.
That's complete bullshit because you clearly don't. So
Yeah, I mean,
and look, I'm not sitting here saying, oh well, the FIA they just handed Max the championship because they
I
assessed
don't
Charles a
think that's what it
penalty.
is at all.
You know,
I
no,
don't
no, no,
think they
I
have
know.
any idea what the fuck they're doing.
No, I agree. I'm just clarifying that, we're not sitting here saying, oh, they they
No,
screwed
we're not
Charles out
tinfoil
of his
hat.
chance or any of that shit. Like this is not in any way, shape, or form about Max winning the championship because that was going to happen regardless.
Right.
This is strictly about this one penalty involving two drivers and a position and nothing more. Like nothing beyond that.
Right.
Not any um any bearing that had on anything beyond just what it is.
What a shitty way to do it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And freaking Johnny Herbert. Oh, Max, turns out you are the champion.
Yeah.
You won it.
Right?
Bro. Well, I can't stand that dude.
Nah. Yep. So, and unfortunately, while we're still on Ferrari, as we all saw, Carlos had a little bit of a mishap and his race ended pretty quickly.
Bro, that was weird, man. Like when you watch the onboard,
yeah,
it looked he was straightened out. Sounded like, I mean, we're just, we're going off of engine sounds here. Sounded like he got on the power pretty smoothly and not too aggressively. And he hit a spot and it just went for a ride.
Yeah. It really didn't look like he did anything particularly wrong. It looked like he just got caught by a patch of water, or something.
Could have been like right at the time.
Could have been a damn wind gust or a shift or just stars aligned and it just went around on him. And at that point, he was just a passenger. He's just along for the ride. It was unfortunate, but yeah. So his race ended pretty early, lap 1,
which launched another chain of events.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get into that,
we want to get into that now, or want to get into
that
because
afterwards? It's chronological. It just works. Like let's just do it.
Yeah. Well, and there was a couple things happening at that time. Carlos had his wreck. Albon's car died, and he was kind of just coasting off to the side. And then, oh hell, who was it? Was that when Joe? I think he just had a spin, wasn't it? Right then.
I believe so.
Yeah. And then what was it? Pierre, he had an off and collected.
No, he hit the barrier that came into the sign.
That's right.
That came into the road after Carlos's
hit caused that part of the barrier to go into the track, which Pierre then collected. And I'd imagine that thing made some great downforce on the front of that car as he was driving
Maybe
around.
Better than what they have normally.
Yeah, right. So, he's driving around with his big old signboard attached to the front of his car. Gets in the pits, gets that ripped off. By this time, the safety car has come out, and I believe it was lap 1, so everybody was already pretty bunched up. Safety car had them, and they were going around. At some point, the crane or the lull or tractor or whatever piece of equipment you want to call it was dispatched to go pick up Carlos. All the meanwhile, Pierre is coming back around, coming out of the pits and coming back around to catch back up to the pack under full course yellow, under safety car. And mind you, visibility is next to nothing. And he comes out of whatever turn that was and comes dangerously close to said tractor, lull, crane, which you could not see until he was like right there passing it. And just a extremely, extremely dangerous situation that brought back many memories for a lot of people.
A lot of the drivers in
A
particular.
lot of the drivers. That memory being Jules Bianchi, who suffered a very, very, very similar incident in very, very similar conditions
at the same
Suzuka.
track.
Yeah.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
dude.
Like, really, the only difference was he went off. The tractor was in the gravel. A little bit different circumstances, but nonetheless, like, dude, you had a recovery vehicle on the side of the track that you couldn't really see till you were there, while you still have cars going around, or at least
one
while
trying
the
to catch the
pack
pack
is not backed up and bunched up. I blame race control for that, because
100%.
no corner worker, no marshal, no safety car, no EV, no nothing happens without race control calling so. Without race control telling that crane, you're clear, go ahead on track for the recovery. Not paying attention to the fact that you had a car coming out of the pits that was trying to catch up. And it thank God it did not end up being an incident in itself. But that was a terrible, terrible decision and could have been much, much worse.
Yeah, for sure could have been worse. Luckily, thank God, nothing did happen.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that maybe, how about if Pierre doesn't say anything, does this just go unnoticed? Because there's a massive fuss about it right now.
Yeah. Well, there were some other drivers that made a comment, I think.
Yeah, about it, because Pierre was on the radio and it was being played.
Was
so,
it?
like, if
I thought a
that
couple other
doesn't
ones kind of
happen,
noted it.
if that doesn't happen, maybe this goes unnoticed. But I feel like at least now it was kind of brought back to the forefront, and you got a bunch of drivers speaking out about it. And, obviously they don't want any of their peers to get seriously hurt or worse or whatever. But selfishly, I guarantee you their first thought is, good Lord, like, that could have been me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like, how, I was talking with Dad about this earlier. It's like, how we've had a fatality in somewhat recent memory. It's not like this Jules Bianchi thing was 30 years ago and,
right.
Like the Senna crash. I mean, it's that kind of sticks with people a lot more because it's more, it was the guy of the sport. He was an idol of many. He was a legend already. So that brought a lot of just weight with it, right? And when that happened, you had drastic measures taken. Drastic measures taken in the terms of the safety of our sport that we all love. It went from, kind of like the old rub some dirt on it and, everything's going to be fine, to that weekend. It wasn't just Senna. It was a number of massive crashes. And Senna just happened to be the last one. And then we didn't have anything like that until 2014. 20 years, from 94 to 14. And then it kind of opened everybody's eyes again. It kind of went from everybody getting this false sense of security because you had this massive reaction to what happened to Senna, and then this long run of nothing happening. And everybody, sure, they had some big crashes and some people got hurt, but you never had that one. And then, this thing with Jules happens, and you look at it, and it's for nothing, in my opinion, because it should not have happened. It was an event that, much like today or yesterday, you had a situation that 100% could have been avoided and should not have been there. So once that happened, it kind of like brought this cloud back over, and everybody, we need to reassess everything. We need to start from scratch and look at every single safety protocol that we have from start to finish of the race, from every single aspect and possibility of the race. We have to assess it all. And, there again, they did a great job. We had some big crashes, but they've also, that Jules crash was one of the things that brought on the halo and the development of it, between that and the windscreen and all that. And it was, look, how many times since the halos came in, has it saved a life? Me and David have done this a few times where just off the top of our head, we reel off a couple of them, and it's probably at least 5 or 6 by now. So, there's always good to come from bad, but the fact that they repeated the same mistake that took the last life in F1 is, in my opinion, unforgivable. It's absolutely unforgivable that we could have had a mirror carbon copy image of what happened to Jules this weekend for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Should have
Y'all
never
good over
even
there?
Yeah. Sorry.
I had to go on a monologue there for a little bit.
Yeah. No. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second. Blood sugar was getting low. I don't think we've actually ever talked about it. Yes, I am diabetic. Blood sugar decided to do a little dropping on me, so I had to go stuff my face with a candy bar real quick. But all good. Yeah, man. So it should have never even been a possibility. Like it just should have never happened. And I don't know if you talked about it. If you watch the onboard from Pierre, you can see as he's approaching where it is, the turn, you can't see anything there at that time, but you can see the signboard flashing. And you can see, like, as he is damn near, like, perpendicular to that signboard, that's when it changes to red.
So they said he was, I heard on the race podcast that he was a second and a half from the incident when it went red.
Yeah, which is right there before the turn. And
Boom.
that was the closest signboard to the incident. And you can see it, like it's just coming almost out of view. And you can see, which he probably couldn't see it. We could see it on the onboard camera. I bet you he couldn't see it at that time.
Right.
Not that it changes anything from Pierre's perspective, but it really what it says is that they had all this going on, and it's not like they had the crane off in the gravel pit or over by the fence, which is a problem in itself. Hence, the whole reason we're talking about this and why this is such a big deal from the previous incident. But you have a crane on the track, and it's just now going red in the middle of trying to do that recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It was just bad calls all around. Should have never happened. Let's just hope that
Like, I don't
they
understand,
learn
though.
from it.
You have Carlos's crash. You have a Williams that died. And then you have, wasn't there another one?
I don't think there's anybody else stranded. I think
No. But and then you had a couple other little tussles and crashes, but they were able to make it through or around.
Mhm.
With the conditions what they were, how did they not throw a red flag for that? I really don't know. Like, they're so quick to throw red flags nowadays.
Yeah.
And you get a situation like that
Mhm.
where you're going to have two recovery vehicles on the track at the same time in
Coupled
terrible
with these
conditions.
conditions.
How does that not throw a red flag? And you're on the first lap.
Right.
It's not like you're in the middle of the race where you're going to completely kind of destroy everything. Like, or even if it was, who cares? It's a safety issue, and that should be the number one thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so many things that were handled poorly. And there's another one that we're going to get into later regarding the tires, because I think that ties into this. But anyway, let's move it on down the road, because I went on enough about it. And
yeah, no, I think we've made our point on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Let's see. So
wait, one more thing on that before I forget.
What you got?
I'd be very, very interested to know, in terms of the team pit walls, as to how they are communicated with from race control to know when these other recovery vehicles are entering the track.
Yeah.
If they're made aware when and exactly where they are, if they have GPS devices on those units to where they show up on the map that those guys don't take their eyes off of.
Yeah.
I would love to know, if anybody does know that hears this, please write us and let us know.
Yeah.
Because that could have been crucially important. I find it hard to believe that the pit wall, everybody on the pit wall would have known that, and they wouldn't have communicated that to Pierre.
Right.
So, do they have access to the same TV that we do? I know they can watch their car at all times.
Yeah. I would imagine I'd imagine they have a broadcast or a
Do they have a
not a
screen that they
broadcast
can
but a
search? They
feed.
can cycle through every camera to see.
Yeah,
I doubt it. I doubt
they've
they
probably
have
got
that.
the was it
The international feed.
the Sky Sports F1 premium package.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd imagine they've got to have something to be able to get that
But do they?
info.
Because how would they have not been like, hey, Pierre, we got units on the track around turn 14. You can't see it.
Yeah.
Slow down, use caution.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you would think that they would have that, but then, like you said, had they had that info, it would have been communicated.
Right.
Yeah. So, which I don't know. I don't know if you covered it when I stepped away. Jules Bianchi's dad actually lashed out on social media regarding all this as well.
Oh, did he? I hadn't seen that.
I didn't see what it said, but I do know that he has put something out there about it.
Good.
Yeah. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick.
All right, let's move it on if you find it.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. All right. We talked about let's pick it up here. We talked about Alpine a good bit. Man, their car is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Their car is getting better, getting stronger. You know, they had two really strong drives from Ocon and Alonso. Ocon's getting sneaky good this year, man. He's been very consistent. He's done some questionable things, we'll call it, with his teammate of all people. Strangely enough. But man, he's been plugging in solid results.
Yeah.
Solid results, man.
He has. He sure has.
I mean, he's sitting in 8th in the championship.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, he is.
I don't know if he's going to get it.
22, 23 points.
23 behind Lando.
Yeah.
And this was kind of a bad race for Lando, and he scored.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a tall order for him to catch Lando, but I mean, he's close enough to where it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the possibility is there. He's gonna have to continuously deliver some more. We're gonna have to see outcomes like what we saw this weekend for that to be a possibility for that to happen. But it's not impossible.
Man, Lando's the only driver outside of the big three teams to have over 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Lando, man. He's having a solid season.
Yeah.
In a not great car.
Right. No, he's not doing bad at all. So, yeah, I mean, Alpine and Ocon are they're heading in the right direction, man.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll just kind of tie this in since we're on Alpine. Ties in with who we were just talking about and now talking about Alpine. So Pierre Gasly is confirmed going to Alpine for next year, taking Fernando's seat.
Bro, been asking and asking.
Yep.
For Pierre to get out of that Red Bull program.
Yep.
And get him in a bigger team. Finally. Unfortunately, it's with his arch nemesis.
Yeah,
that's
right.
His teammate. They hate each other for some reason.
Yeah. And I'd imagine that goes way back to
I'm
probably
sure
hating each other karting days. You know.
Charles and Max got over it. But I don't know. Their shit's deep.
Yeah.
Charles and Max had a rivalry. They never really hated each other.
Right. That was just an on-track rivalry. They were always
And they were younger,
competitors.
so it was a little more emotional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a story of some sort with Pierre and Ocon.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man, Ocon just rubs people the wrong way.
He does.
Name somebody that gets along really well with him.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. I mean, he look at all his previous teammates. He didn't really get along with any of them. Yeah, I mean, there's
Max tried to fight him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Be interesting to see how this plays out for sure.
So, look, Mercedes, we'll move it into Mercedes.
Yeah.
I would call it a decent weekend. You know, there really wasn't any big mistakes. I think had it not been for the weather, I think they'd have probably struggled a little more on this track than what they. I think the weather actually helped them out.
The weather definitely helped them have a little bit better showing for sure.
You know, I think their package just kind of lends itself well to the wet races when everything's kind of slowed down a bit on what would have been a pretty fast track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, it obviously it wasn't great, you know. I mean, Max beat him by, what was it, like 40 seconds over Lewis?
Hell. He was 40 seconds, almost 40 seconds even, 40.3.
Yeah, and then 47 over George.
Yeah.
In 28 laps.
Yep.
You know, so not great pace-wise at all.
Not comparatively to Max.
Oh, not even, you know, I mean, not.
But then again, I mean, nobody looks great pace-wise compared to him.
I mean, look, let's be real. Charles was the only one that was able to keep up at any point with Max.
Yeah.
After that, but you know, it just wasn't. It wasn't for him. But typically, you've kind of seen Checo have the Mercedes poking around where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
And this time you had Esteban in there. You know, you had, you had an Aston Martin not far behind.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, 2 Alpines in front of George.
Yep.
I mean, it was just one of them races, man, where they didn't look strong, but they kind of just came on strong in the end. And, you know, just had a solid race when I don't think there was a whole lot more that they could have got out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But look, I mean, George had some incredible overtakes.
Yeah, he did.
And some not traditional overtaking places.
less than ideal
Well, look, I mean,
places.
it
But
shows
it worked, man, and he was
it
confident
shows
in it, and it worked.
how savvy of a driver he is because he understood where his car was significantly better than his opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that to his advantage and made the most of it.
Yep.
And that was something that I think, you kind of really saw come to light today or yesterday was the drivers that understand how to pass,
Mm-hmm.
how to actually overtake that a lot of them haven't had to do in a long time because of DRS.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
race very differently.
Right. No, the ones that understand kind of how to orchestrate it.
Right.
And
How to set it up, how to think about it a lap, 2 laps ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like all of us, you're
how
following
to play
behind a guy
chess.
and you see, okay, he took this line, he took this line again. I'm strong here. I could wrap it around the outside of him here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's like, you're right. It's like playing chess.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was great to see that again.
It was. Like, regardless of how many overtakes were or were not happening, it is way more exciting what we just witnessed as opposed to seeing 40 freaking overtakes all on a straightaway from DRS.
Right. Well, look, I mean, even look at Checo. He understood his chance to overtake was going to be on that hairpin. And I'm going to send it on the inside every time. I'm be able to wrap it a little tighter and maybe nose ahead. And maybe one of these times I'm going to hook up with some good grip out of here. And it didn't wind up working out. But the creativity I love.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't have it anywhere else. He didn't have an opportunity.
Right. Well, and the idea there too is if he can get alongside and maybe Charles can be compromised on his exit and Checo can be side by side with him coming out, the next 1, 2, 3 turns are all left-handers. So if he could be on the inside, even if they went too wide in the first one, the chances of them staying too wide that whole time are slim to none. Right. He's on the inside. He's going to be able to squeeze that pass by. He's going to be able to use that inside line and cut the corner, or kind of cut his exit a little bit and hopefully, squeeze Charles out of that position. But he was never, so he was trying to set it up, but he never could. He got close a couple times, and it just never really panned out for him.
Right.
Although the one thing, and I guess, I guess it's just, I'm going to keep trying and hope that one of these times it works. After the first couple times, it's like, all right, let me try something different because this ain't working,
Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's move it along to Aston Martin.
Yep.
How's about Seb Vettel, P6? Is that
not too bad?
Is that 2 in a row P6s for Aston?
That
is. I knew Lance had one very recently. Yeah, he was last week in Singapore.
Yep. Not too shabby at all.
So, 2 wet races. All of a sudden,
I was going to say it appears that car lends itself to a wet race fairly well.
Yeah. I don't recall a whole lot of Lance's race this week. I don't think he got a whole lot
other than he had an
airtime.
awesome freaking start.
Yeah.
rocketing up against the pit wall where there was a dry patch. Hey, well played.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he saw that, darted over there and rocketed past some people.
Little sly fox you, Stroll.
Right?
That's an Alonso move right there.
Yeah, it is.
Good thing they're going to be teammates next year.
Yeah, right? I think that's going to be interesting.
I do too. I think it'll go well, though.
I do think so. I think it's going to go very well.
Just in terms of a team perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know how competitive they're going to be, but I think the team dynamic will go well with Lance and Fernando.
Yeah, and I think
Lance is not Esteban.
No. And I think Lance is smart enough to realize the opportunity to learn some things from Fernando.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to see an improvement and also maybe a slight change in Lance's driving style.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might either get some pointers or, just kind of pick up a little bit of that Fernando style and implement that into his ways a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw that.
I'll be honest, I don't know if that Fernando style can be taught.
I think, it's.
I think that's one of the things you just got to have it. You just got to.
Yeah.
Kind of like Max.
It can't be taught, but I think there's certain parts of it that
especially
at
this point in his career.
Right. Because there's so much of his style that is just from the sheer time.
Right.
So much of his style is just experience. All right, what are we moving on to now?
Going on to the Ghost 2. This one is, I want to say this one was like 12 or 13 years old. But I hadn't got into any of the super old stuff yet. Just going to do me. I don't have much of this one left. Just going to do a little sample here. Just enough to wet the whistle.
And that one's what is that, a 1.0 something proof as well?
Oh, yeah, this is 104.4.
Yeah. Love a higher proof rye.
Yeah, they got some of these other ones are up there. That one you got, that Ghost number 4, that's a 116.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so the Aston Martin, man, we'll see. Are they getting more competitive, or are they good in the rain? Are they good in the wet?
Right now it's looking like it's just a little more, conditional happenstance. But we'll see. We'll get to see firsthand.
And we're gonna move it down the road here because we got a lot to get to in terms of other things outside of this exact race.
Yep.
Williams and Latifi slide in there at P9.
Right.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know how it happened. All of a sudden, I looked up when it was over, and I was like, holy shit, is that right?
Yeah,
Latifi's in P9?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you really what happened to land him there.
How does he pull that off when he was so out of his element on Friday? He drove and took a turn on the wrong track.
Oh man, yeah.
Like for everybody listening that don't watch the practices, they have at many of these circuits nowadays, they have like these alternate areas that they can tie in and make the track to form all these different configurations, which I'm sure you've seen if you watch the sport at all. So in practice, he proceeds to just take the wrong turn and drive into a dead end,
Mm-hmm.
and then was like, "Oh man, the car it
The
feels so
car,
strange.
yeah.
It feels so
I'm,
strange.
I'm okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
He's like,
Like physically or cognitively, bro.
yeah, right.
What are we
Dude,
doing
like
here?"
that whole string of statements was just like, dude, you are just searching for some way to explain what you
Oh,
just did,
bruh.
and there is nothing good coming out. So let's just move from like one thing to the next and hope that something makes sense here. And
Bruh, that was rough. That was rough
dude,
to
yeah,
watch.
yeah, it
Like,
was.
look, I get it, man. Like, you hadn't been here before, but like, did you not even take laps on your PlayStation before you came over here to a brand new track?
Yeah, right.
You know, like, had you not been in a simulator at all? Or since they announced you got coming back, had you just seen your mode?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna wing this one. I'm gonna tell.
Let's see if
I'm gonna pay some little intern to go do my simulator hours.
yeah, right. Can I find the video and put it on here? Let's see. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
But his Ghost 2 is one of the best ones.
Is it?
It's
I
not.
don't remember if I tried that one when I was down there.
You might have. It's not insanely old. I forget the age of it. I think it's like 12 or 13. But man, it is just one of the sweet spots.
Oh,
This is
all right,
Leah's favorite bottle
oh
that I
yeah.
own. Yeah. And you know the funny thing is the neck pour on this bottle was so incredibly spicy, it was almost undrinkable.
Really?
Neat. Like it was I'd never been lit up like I had with this bottle. And then once I got it, I kind of forced myself to drink it down past the shoulder. And once it got some air in it and opened up a little bit, it is just perfect.
All right, let's see. Here we go. Let's see. We are going to share that.
Another fun little fact about this Whistle Pig, for anybody that's interested, is they use a different kind of rye than most of your conventional rye whiskeys here in the States. They use Canadian rye.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much different profile from all of the conventional ryes around here. It's doesn't have much of that mint, that kind of minty flavor. It's very, very heavy on the baking spice, the cinnamon, the stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic, man. It's so different, but it's pretty bold as well, kind of like a bourbon, where the flavors are deep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not very. It's not like they're sharp and abrasive. They're very deep and complex and very well blended together.
Yep.
To where it just creates like this very well balanced, intense flavor profile.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's see. Here we go.
About as deep as I've got on whiskey on y'all.
Right. All right. Let's hit play on that.
Particularly he's going slowly at this point. So he's only just cruising.
Boom.
He's taking the wrong
Sure what
turn.
happened there. The car, that was strange. Anyways, okay.
That looked quite bizarre. He just sort of turned right before the actual turn into the chicane.
Bruh.
Oh man, that yeah, that was strange. I don't know the car. Anyways, I'm okay. Like, dude, what are you doing,
Oh, Jesus.
man?
Bro, anybody that's just listening to that, you got to go see it. You got to see it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So enough about your
Albon
boy.
was a DNF.
Yeah,
So
engine died or something got wet or something. I don't know. I hadn't seen actually like what happened, but
right.
like hell, I mean that's a real possibility though. I mean it could have, could have had some water spray come in a weird way and get a freaking sensor, and then poof, there goes the whole shebang.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, hell, was it Jensen was saying one of the races he something about they didn't end up racing or he wasn't able to or something, and it's kind of a good thing because the steering wheel ended up being filled with water after being out.
Really? I missed that.
Yeah, I forget. It might have been a Malaysia race. It was the Malaysia monsoon, I think, actually. What was that?
They
was
raced for that. That was
yeah,
20, that was 2002
but 04, I thought it was.
or 03.
It
I
might
love that
it might
race.
have,
I don't know why I can't remember
Yeah.
that off the top of my head.
he might not have raced or something. Maybe it wasn't Malaysia. Which one was he talking about? But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what it was with Albon. Maybe something just happened with the engine. Maybe it had to do with the weather. The water got in somewhere it wasn't supposed to, but no telling. But yeah, he was a DNF. So,
2001.
oh wow, we were both wrong.
Yep, 01.
Okay, all right. Do you have the results right there? Did Jensen run that one?
I can get him.
Curious now if that's the one he was talking about.
I doubt it. He'd have been just.
Yeah,
I got the results. He was Jensen.
Malaysia.
Jensen. Where are you at, Jensen? He was 17.
P11.
No.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Race result. Yeah. 2001 Malaysia. Jensen Button, P11.
Oh, shit. I'm looking at qualifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So it wasn't
P11.
It wasn't that race then.
Plus 2 laps in P11.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was quite. If anybody wants to watch a kind of wild race, that's one to do. That's one to go check out.
Yep. God, dude, just looking down the race results, just
with all these names,
seeing the names, man,
and the old teams.
God,
that was Kimi and Fernando.
Rubens,
that was Kimi
DC.
And Fernando's rookie year.
Yeah. Heinz Harold Frentzen. I ain't heard that name in a long time.
Jean Alesi was still racing.
Yep. Jarno Trulli, Luciano Berti, Josta Boss.
Verstappen Sr.
Yep. Giancarlo. God, man.
All right.
Olivier Panis.
Let's dial it back
Oof.
in. We got too much shit to get to go down this rabbit hole.
Oh, I know, right? Going down memory lane there.
So, all right. McLaren snuck in the points. You know, Daniel and Lando was actually about as close as they've been all year. It was only 2 seconds apart.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it was for 10th and 11th. And Daniel didn't get any points out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so looking like I think it's just 99.9% positive that Ricciardo is not going to be on the grid next year, which is a shame. Because I think he's more than talented enough than a lot of the drivers on the grid, and he's not going to have a drive next year.
Yeah.
He said I'll focus on 24, but man, it's like it is tough.
Yeah.
Once you're out to get back in.
Well, and you know what's
go ahead.
Not funny, but it's interesting. You know, this whole year we've been talking about Danny Rick, and obviously your teammate is who you get compared to, right? Especially when your teammate is somebody that's younger and outperforming you. These last 2 races, Ricciardo has stepped his game up way more than he has elevated his race, his finishing position in regards to Lando, way more than what Lando has elevated his. You know, he is much, much better in the wet than what Lando is. And
I wouldn't say that. Lando finished ahead of him.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is look at where he's generally finishing, and then you bring on a wet race and look how much higher up he's finishing.
Yeah.
You know. True. And that right there just shows the talent level. But yeah, I mean, it sure doesn't look like there's a seat with his name on it next year.
No, I think he came out and said it this weekend that he's pretty much resigning the fact that he doesn't plan on driving next year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so quick sidebar. Moving into the Ghost 3 here.
Ooh.
This is where we get into a little bit of age here with some of these bottles. This one's 16 and a half years old.
Nice.
And 103.2 proof.
Man, they really jumped it up in proof at the 4. They were fluttering around that 103.4 for the first 3.
Right.
I'm a switch it up too while we're on the topic of refills. No, I'm not going Whistle Pig. I'm gonna go into a little Elijah Craig rye. Really, not that
I wish they do a barrel proof rye often.
Yeah, God. Not that I drink it a whole lot. I just don't find myself going to ryes all that often. So my ryes tend to last, but
I'm kind of in the same boat.
It's Elijah Craig rye is awesome. I freaking love it.
And like my problem is when I make cocktails, if I'm making them for myself, I like to use a high proof rye.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want that spirit to kind of shine through and dominate the cocktail. So I'll stay away from the Sazerac rye and the Elijah Craig rye and all that stuff, and I'll stay kind of going through like the Rare Breed rye or the Willet rye.
Oh, Rare Breed, that's sitting right there.
Yeah,
that one's up next.
Which, look. My good friend, you can tell your friend status when you come to my house, depending on what rye you get in your cocktail. All right. If you get the Willet or the Rare Breed, hey, you're up here. If you get the the Elijah Craig or the Sazerac,
yeah,
I mean, you're more than welcome to drink as much as you want, but
you're not getting the good stuff.
maybe that's the case too. Maybe I know that we're gonna tie one on, so we're gonna hide the good shit.
Yeah, right.
And that just goes for the cocktails. Because with the exception of a few bottles, anybody that comes to my house that's a friend of mine is welcome to have anything they want on my bar.
Yep.
Except for these whistle pigs. If I don't offer you the whistle pig, you don't touch these whistle pigs. All right.
All right, who we jumping into next? We got AT.
Hold on. One more on McLaren.
What you got?
Care to make a prediction on who finishes P4? Them or Alpine? For the year?
Ooh.
Right now,
what's the spread
Alpine retook the lead by 13 points.
So
keep in mind, it's constructors, so it's two cars going at it. So you can see some good fluctuations each week.
Yeah, and we got...
Which the last 2 weeks have been just that.
Yeah. We got Coda, Mexico, Brazil, Abu Dhabi left. Man. I think Alpine's going to hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about earlier, Ocon here lately has been sneakily good and just kind of quietly.
It's hard to say, man, because like there's still no rhyme or reason to like where McLaren's good.
Exactly.
But man, if Danny can pull it together a little bit, I feel like they're going to challenge Lando as a team to really dial it in here and step it up. And let's see what – I mean, they don't have to challenge him. Like, he can see these standings and know what he has to do.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do. I think that'll be – everybody wants to talk about Lando as, like, kind of like that next guy to break into that elite category.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what he can do here at the end of the season when all the chips are to play for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that's the thing, though. He could do as well as he wants. If he's not getting the help from Danny, constructor-wise.
I don't care about Danny. What I'm saying is, let's see if Lando can put a string of some of his best performances together.
Yeah.
When it counts, when the pressure's on and you have to deliver.
Yep.
Because that's what elite drivers do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, just looking at points and all, Lando's in P7, Esteban in P8, and Fernando in P9, Danny Rick's down in 12. I mean, right there tells you that as long as the trend kind of continues the way it has been, chances are Alpine's staying ahead. But, anything can happen, of course. Barring anything crazy happening, I think Alpine's going to hang on to it.
I tend to agree. But who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like you said, we'll see if Lando can.
Honestly, man, like as good as Lando's been, if Lando can kind of just stay with his, like today was pretty much, yesterday, I keep saying today, was pretty much an outlier for Lando.
Mm-hmm.
A P10 finish.
Yep.
So seems like if we get dry races and everything kind of is what it is, if Lando can just do what he's been doing, maybe elevate a tiny bit, and you get like one race where Danny Rick bangs it in, McLaren might pull it out.
Could.
I'm gonna go with McLaren.
All right.
Write that down. But all right. So AlphaTauri, Yuki home race, P12, not great. Obviously we discussed Pierre quite a bit. He had a dreadful race. He finished second to last, I believe, and then had a 20-second penalty.
Third to last.
Huh?
Third to
What?
last.
Third to last? Okay. And then had a 20-second penalty and was DFL.
Mm-hmm. Wait, hang on.
No, second to last.
No. I was looking at the total, like elapsed time finishing order.
He was the last. The only person he beat on track was Mick, I believe. Because then he had that 20-second penalty.
Right. So 20.
Yeah, he finished behind Joe.
Yeah, that would have
on
put him
track.
behind. Yep.
So Haas, not a great day at all. Just rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
Up in the air. I don't know what's going to happen with Mick. They say it's between him and Nico Hulkenberg for that seat. I think that's dumb. I think that's stupid.
I agree.
What do you, if you're Haas, I feel like we've been down this road, but what do you think you're getting with Hulkenberg? You know exactly what you have.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Like, I don't know, man. That just makes no sense to me if you're Haas. If you're a team like Haas, you want a young driver with potential. And look, Mick's shown flashes this year of being really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
keep developing that, dude. Maybe you get, next year, that's 3/4 of the season.
Right.
Maybe the year after that, that's the whole season.
Maybe so.
You know, and if next year it kind of stays like this year or, whatever, then you can cut ties. But I feel like the progress he's made,
too quick.
the progress he's made this year in a new car has been pretty good. So I don't understand their logic in wanting to go to Hulkenberg, of all people. Like, if you had another young, talented guy coming in, like, okay, I could understand that. I could get down with that, Like, you don't think Mick's going to be anything special, so you move on. And you bring in somebody else who might be.
Mm-hmm.
But really? Hulkenberg?
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a wise decision.
Just don't. And to round that out, Alfa Romeo. I don't know why I had them behind. I just wrote them last. For whatever reason.
Because Magnussen finished ahead of them.
Oh, that's right.
So that
yeah. Yep. You're right. Yep. I can't stop yawning. Shit. You got anything to weigh in on them?
Nothing really. No. Joe had a spin or two.
What's Valerie doing back there? Good Lord.
Out for a Sunday drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wasn't doing much. So that about rounds that out.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll discuss that.
Now on to before we dive into any of the other stuff, because we talked
on
about
Gasly.
Yeah, we talked about Gasly going to Alpine. Nick DeVries is going to AlphaTauri to assume Gasly's seat.
I like that move.
I do. Tell you what, he's had a hell of a year this year with different teams. You know, he's done he's tested in a lot of different cars.
He's drove a McLaren, a Williams, an Aston Martin, and now he's going to drive for AlphaTauri.
Yep. Did he ever get a FP1 in the Merc?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe so.
Did he? Let's see.
Maybe so.
Let's see.
I feel like it was early.
And I saw something earlier that listed everything he did. I won't be able to find that right now, but let's see. Because he jumped in a Williams for Monza. He's running FP1 for McLaren. He ran, where?
All right. I guess it's not that important.
No, it's not.
But
I was hoping to
let's
find it
jump into this
quickly,
other
but
shit.
so yeah, I mean, with the driver stuff, Williams and Haas are still unconfirmed for their second seat.
You know, and there's rumors circulating that if Haas does not retain Schumacher, that Williams is waiting because they might scoop him up.
Interesting.
So that might be good for him. So, all right. Where do you want to start?
Okay, so DeVries did run FP1. He replaced Hamilton in FP1 in France.
Yeah, okay.
All
I
right,
couldn't remember if it was this year or last year because I knew
Yeah.
I knew like I had a picture of him in my head in the Mercedes overalls, but I couldn't remember when it was.
Yeah. Well, and most of the time when you see him, he's standing right there next to Toto.
That's true.
Yeah, so he's been in an Aston Martin as well. Yeah, he's been in a lot of different ones.
Good for him.
Yep. Yeah, he ran the Aston Martin in FP1
It's
at
like the Paddock
Monza.
whore.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Just running through them garages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
He said, "Ain't no shame in my game." We try out all these different ones, see which one feels the most comfy.
Look, I want to talk about the points next. Because I feel like that one's going to take the least amount of conversation. It's really not just more or less a complaint and a
complaint about how the whole way it's set up is stupid.
The fact that full points were awarded today, or goddamn, yesterday, for this race at Suzuka. The date irrelevant. When we ran less than half of the laps, or right at half of the laps,
less than 75%.
Yeah, less than 75%.
We ran 28.
Right about half.
Half was like 26 and a half.
Okay, so only because of a discrepancy in the rules where that point system is only like the staged point system is only used if you run to a certain point and then stop the race and don't restart.
Yeah.
How freaking
It's freaking stupid. What's it matter if the laps are run before or after a red flag?
And the hilarious thing is, nobody knew it.
Right. Yeah.
None of the announcers, none of the teams, none of the drivers, nobody freaking knew it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Except for maybe the guy with Sky TV who kept on, whoever is in charge of the all the little graphs that they put on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
When he kept showing the points, he kept showing full points.
Yeah.
And the commentators kept on being like, well, that's not right. We'll get it.
Right.
We'll get it here. And every time they show it again, it'd be the full points.
It showed full points. Maybe he was on to something.
Yeah. But
I tell you
either
what,
way,
that just goes
ridiculous.
to show you that I guess the commentators are not your typical Ron Burgundy where they'll just read whatever's on the teleprompter.
This is true. They will go just off the cuff.
Yeah.
But look, either way, how ridiculous is it that you could run 28 laps and then have the race stopped and be awarded half the amount of points, whereas if you'd have ran for a lap, stopped the race, and then ran 27 more?
Yeah.
But you finished under green, so you get double the amount of points.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes zero sense. And I would imagine that is going to be changed now that it's kind of come to light that
But it's like, look, you know, that's how the rules are written. And it's just one of those things, man, where they're written in a way that just causes controversy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's the same thing. We can't get away from Abu Dhabi last year because there's so many parallels all the time.
Yeah.
Where, you know,
there's so much subjectivity and ambiguity.
Exactly. Like technically, the way the rules were written, like they were kind of followed, but they kind of weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's just the thing. Like if you read this section this that, the rules were blatantly broken. But then if you scroll down a couple pages and you read this section this that, Amendment B, subtitle C, it kind of creates this little loophole for that one.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, why is this so freaking complicated?
Yeah.
Like, why does the rule book have to be the size of a Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't it just be like, you know,
here's the rule.
Here's the rule. Period.
Break it. Here's the penalty.
Rule 1, rule 2, not, you know, rule 42, part A, subtitle B of section 1 of rule 42.
Yeah.
Like
Appendix
Jesus
A.
Christ.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. It's way overcomplicated. And this is exactly what happens. Like it's so overcomplicated. This is the shit that happens.
Literally nobody in the paddock knew that Max was champion when he crossed the line. Right. Nobody.
And you know, when I say this is what happens, by this I mean the last number of years where it's just constantly a battle about, oh, well, that wasn't per the rules. Oh, but yes, it was. Oh, but maybe it wasn't. Oh, maybe it kind of was, but it, you know, like how often are we having this discussion? And guess what? We've really never had the discussion about the same topic. Like it is the same. It's the same discussion, but the subject of it is always different.
Yeah.
So that just tells you that the entire rule book is just filled with all this ambiguity and gray area and subjectivity. And what's the point of it?
Right.
Like, tell you what, from here on out, let's just toss the rule book out the window and let race control just do whatever he pleases
That's
because,
pretty much what they do anyway.
well, yeah, I know, right? Because I mean, hell, in the rule book, it pretty much says that
Not anymore.
race director can do what he wants.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. You're
That's
right.
gone.
Yeah,
You
it
believe
is.
that.
It is.
That is gone. They
But-
ripped that whole page out, and just everything else around it went along with it, destroying all the evidence.
Yeah. What page?
Oh, you mean the one between 46 and 48? There's no
that
page
was
there.
That was just a misprint.
Yeah, there's no page there.
Yeah.
It just skips. So anyway, whatever, just get your shit together.
Yeah.
For real, come on. Like, these are the kind of things that shouldn't be, like, we can sit here and argue back and forth about this should be a penalty or that should be a penalty. But, I do understand that all of those instances will have subjectivity in them.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent.
Yeah.
But when you have precedent, that is what should follow.
Yep.
But this points nonsense, I mean, how is there such oversight to where it gets this way? To where if you run the same exact amount of laps, but you stop the race and don't restart it, the time runs out, it's half points.
Yeah.
But if you run the exact same mileage, same laps, whatever you want to call it, and you finish under green, it's full points.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
I don't know, man. I don't freaking get it.
Unfreaking believable.
Really grinds my gears.
Right? But it's like last year, when you're reviewing all this, you literally changed the rule last year because of Spa.
Mm-hmm.
So you had this exact rule like highlighted, pulled up, and you still fucked it all up.
Screwed it up. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Come on, man. God. Freaking
Do
bush
better.
league shit, dude.
Yep. Do
All
better.
right, enough of that. Let's move on to something else to bitch about because we got a couple more.
Speaking of subjectivity, since we're on that topic, right? Might as well just.
Oh, great segue. I love it.
Yeah.
I was going to go the other way with bitching, but I like your segue better, so go ahead.
Bitching about the subjectivity.
No, I was going to bitch about the other issue, which I have a huge problem with, but
What other issue?
the tires.
Oh.
But no, perfect.
We
go with
going-
yours.
Okay.
I ruined your segue anyway, but we're going to go with it.
Yeah, we'll roll with it. Cost cap infringements.
Mm-hmm.
So the FIA has announced that there were 2 infringements, Aston Martin and Red Bull. Aston Martin was deemed as a procedural infringement, and Red Bull was deemed a minor infringement. Now, as of last episode here, it was unclear as to exactly what, but it was looking like Red Bull was going to be under the major infringement category.
That's what was leaked.
Right. I was about to say that's what the mole inside the FIA leaked out. But it's been released that it is a minor infringement, to which there is no clear-cut, here's the rule, you break it, here's the penalty. The penalty could range from a slap on the wrist. It could be fines. It could be some points deductions, again, it's all subjective. It all
And
depends
I've even
on what
seen-
side of the bed they wake up on tomorrow.
I've even seen varying reports of what is actually possible to be penalized for
yeah,
this.
like what even could be, right. Yep.
Like I've seen 3 or 4 different typically reputable places
Mhm.
saying different things that are possible punishments.
Yep.
And it's like these are kind of radically different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it's not like we're talking minimal thing. Like one of them saying like it's still like driver and constructor's points could be docked, and then which would affect the outcome of a season.
Yeah. Man, I think the only definitive thing that's anywhere is, what was it? If
A
it
verbal
was-
reprimand, a public reprimand.
Yeah, right. If it was a major infringement, then points would be
Mandatory.
docked. Mandatory. But
but
how
they're
many,
still
which
not-
ones? Right.
And they're still not clear on if it's driver
Or constructor or
constructors, driver
Yeah.
or constructors,
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't say like this
and how many
or
for what?
Right.
You just decide like, okay, we need to take away 33 points to make sure
Yeah.
you finish behind this guy. So that's what we do.
Right. It's only half ambiguous.
I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it's just like
It. How hard is it? We've been saying this all night long. How hard is it to say, here's the rule, you break it, here's the penalty? And then guess what? If you do that, nobody can bitch afterwards. Okay, let's just go on the topic of Red Bull and their cost cap exceeding the limit, or they're said that really wrong. Their total spending exceeding the cost cap, right? Let's say the penalty. Let's just pick a number and say the penalty is 50 points, 50 constructors points off of last year. Well, Mercedes is going to be saying, no, that's not fair. It should be way more than that. Red Bull is going to be saying,
or it should be driver. Red Bull
that's
could
not-
be saying, that's fine. Take 100 constructors.
well, yeah, I know, but
Don't
I'm
touch
just,
the drivers.
yeah, right. But Red Bull is going to be saying, oh no, come on, that's bullshit. Like 50 points, really? It should only be 25. Right? You're going to have everybody complaining one way or another. Whereas if it was just in the rules, here's the rule, you break it, here's the penalty. Guess what? You just eliminated weeks and weeks worth of bitching and moaning and whining and all kind of people filing appeals for more or less penalties or whatnot. Like, it seems pretty simple that you would do that, and it would eliminate a lot of problems. It would eliminate a lot of backlash at the FIA because they're going to get a lot of backlash for being
they're
too
going to
hard
get
or
crushed for
too
this, no
easy.
matter what happens.
Right. But if they came out in the beginning and said, here's the rule, here's the penalty if you break it, you can't be mad at the FIA. They set the rule and they set the penalty, and that's what it is. Like,
Right.
that's the end of it. I don't see why they've got to make this so freaking complicated.
But like right now, you've got Hamilton going and doing these interviews talking about, like if we could have spent another 300,000 on a new floor or this or that, you're talking about, another few tenths. And that would have changed the outcome. I don't want to.
Right, you already ran like 11 engines,
bro. You ran double the fucking allocation of engines.
Yeah,
that's where the rest of your salary cap went.
Right.
That's why you couldn't bring upgrades since Silverstone. Y'all ran 11 engines
Right.
out of an allocated 6.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Like, you want to know where the budget cap went for Mercedes in 2021? ICE.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Like, look, we're just gonna run this thing on full tilt, and we'll take a new one and take a penalty next race.
However, I don't disagree with what he's saying, but he looped two things in together that aren't correct.
Right.
Like, he said, we didn't bring a upgrade since Silverstone. That's because you threw an engine in every other race.
Yep.
But
it's kind of
had
hard
they
to fit
had
another
another 300,000, yeah, you could have, like, had you upgraded, yeah, it would have affected performance.
Well, I mean, look, it's kind of hard to fit another floor in that rig with the cars and the parts and everything when you've got to carry so many engines around with you to just keep swapping those out.
That's also true. Because travel costs are in the cost cap.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Very good point. Astute observation.
I get one of those every now and then.
They'd have had to get another big rig, and that just would have did them in.
Yeah, right?
Oh, Jesus. It just goes like nonstop, round and round.
Oh, yeah.
And like all this shit is created, and you got Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff. And thank God George wasn't on Mercedes last year because, he'd have been throwing his fucking 2 cents in.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have been even more egregious. But it's like, it just creates all of these what ifs. And if I'm them, I'm 100% saying them.
Yeah.
Because it not only is it putting pressure on the situation, but it puts pressure in the midst of the FIA having this decision weighing on them. Because
it brings it more into the public.
It just brings it more into the public, more into light what they could have done. Lewis Hamilton, I guarantee you, did not pull those numbers out of thin air.
No.
They're being coached on this.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about what they could have done, dollar amounts they could have used. Like this, it's all strategic.
Oh, yeah. It is absolutely some PR coaching.
And it is some very strong strategery.
Yeah. Strategery? Is that a word?
Strategery. W said it. Look it up. But it's well placed and it puts even more pressure on the FIA. Because all of a sudden, like, really, when you think about it, people know F1 spends a shitload of money. But we really don't know what things cost, right? We hear about these upgrades and we hear about, they're bringing a new wing. And, like Ferrari a couple of weeks ago brought a floor, a rear wing, and a front wing. And we're like, holy shit, that's a lot. That's a big upgrade. But, in general terms, you'd hear about all these upgrades and it's like this little winglet here, like on last year's car. This winglet here and this there. And, and it's like little bitty tiny pieces. We don't know what any of that shit costs.
No, not a clue.
We know it's all expensive relative to what it is, but we have no clue. So what he's doing is he's putting real numbers on a thing that we all know makes a big difference.
Yep.
So it comes out Red Bull's say 1 million over or 800,000 over. He just put 300,000 on a floor. And all of a sudden people are like, oh man, like,
oh my God, that's a game changer.
Well, but it is.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what he's doing.
Like and now people have that grasp on it. The general public has that grasp on it.
Yep.
And people are like, man, That ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, screw Red Bull. How come all they got was a slap on the wrist?
Yeah.
When the number one problem here is the leak inside of the FIA.
Still haven't seen anything regarding that.
It doesn't matter. The fact that it got out.
No, I know, but I still haven't seen anything regarding them addressing that.
No, I haven't
like
either.
Like it needs to be.
I haven't either. But either way, like the fact that that got out is a massive problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have outside influences.
Yep.
To either way. You have, certain teams lobbying and starting all these rumors. You have the team that they're fighting this year addressing the rumors and saying, well, shit. I mean, if they broke the cap like that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
We want some action. We want to see some actions because that's why they're destroying us this year.
Yep.
And then you got Christian Horner. Well, he's trying to wrap up a championship, is having to address all this shit and defend himself when they maybe didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
At the time when it came out. Turns out They did something a little bit wrong, but not nearly what was leaked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the fact that, I feel like if this would have been in a court of law here in the U.S., this would have been a mistrial, and the whole thing would have been done.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what is happening. Everything has now been compromised.
Yep.
Because of this idiot who leaked the information.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I also want to, I'm going to put it up here. Red Bull has put out a response to all of this. I'm going to put that up here and it's kind of hard to read unless you're going to be watching this on a TV. I don't know. Let's see. Hang on. If I can I just zoom it in or something and make this a little better? Let's see. Oh, I just messed it up. Hang on. Let me put it back here. Bear with me. Oh, where'd it go? I don't know what happened.
I clicked the button.
Oh.
That was a mistake. I didn't mean to do it. I just grabbed the mouse and it was on that little icon.
Oh, okay. All right. So here's that. Let me zoom in a little bit, see if we can make this a little.
Oh, there it is. Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So, according to Red Bull, we note the findings of the FIA of minor overspend breaches of the financial regulations with surprise and disappointment. Our 2021 submission was below the cost cap limit, so we need to carefully review the FIA's findings as our belief remains that the relevant costs are under the 2021 cost cap amount. Despite the conjecture and positioning of others, there is, of course, a process under the regulations with the FIA which we will respectfully follow while we consider all the options available to us. So that is their response to all of this. And they also, in writing a very professional response to all of it, called out a certain few individuals that are kind of spearheading all of the quote unquote conjecture. Without naming any names, they made it very blatant that, there's people just stirring the pot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we'll see what comes of it. It's gonna be a shitstorm no matter which way it goes.
Yeah.
you know,
It already is.
yeah, it already is.
I've been
And
reading
like-
message boards and Facebook groups. It's already a shit show, and it's not going to get any
Oh, yeah.
better when they announce the decision.
No, it's not. It is not.
So, I tell you what, why don't we save our tire session for next week
Yeah,
in
we
the
can do that.
preview to Coda?
Yep. Yeah.
And put a button on this one.
Yeah. Let's call this a wrap.
So, if you just want to recap the predictions from last week.
Yeah. Let's see. What did we have here? So we had. I want it noted that I had the predictions correct.
No, you didn't.
I did. Pre-penalties.
So you didn't.
Pre-penalties. Yes. So
I also
had
want it noted what you should have wrote down
in the
what I noted last week.
in the order in which they crossed and took the checkered flag. I had it correct.
So close. So close.
With Max Charles Checo.
I also want it noted what I predicted, what I want it noted last week. Did you write that down like you were supposed to?
No, of course not.
Okay.
What was that?
That
That you were going to pick the same thing that I did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I said that before, like literally as soon as you said it, I said, okay, that was going to be my pick. So I'm going to go with this.
Yeah, you went Max Charles Carlos.
Yeah.
I was technically correct.
Yeah. So. I mean, like, if you're playing technicalities, I mean, technically, if Carlos wouldn't have aquaplaned on the first lap and ran his normal race, like he might have finished in front of Checo.
Hey,
you
look,
know,
if was a skiff, we'd go for a boat ride.
Well, I mean, you're playing the same shit. If there was no penalty awarded, you would have had it exactly right. But
exactly. Yeah.
You didn't.
Except my order was right in which they crossed the stripe. That's all I'm saying.
My order was right when Carlos crashed.
All right.
Just saying.
Yeah. Let's bring this one to an end. Let me get y'all a little quote here. Goes a little something like, to drive an F1 car, you have to be a little mad. On the morning of a race, there's a mix of excitement and fear. If it's a wet track, then it's worse, as you're not in control most of the time, which is the thing all drivers fear the most. And that comes from Jensen Button.
Yeah, I knew that. Damn it, I'd have had that one.
We talked about quite a bit here tonight. So, all right.
I've heard him say that, and I read it in his book.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and
that's in his book.
That's gonna do it for tonight. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And again, if you're catching this on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, go find it on YouTube. The link will be in the description for the video. And you'll be able to see the couple things that we shared on the screen here. And
if you don't listen to it on YouTube, just go subscribe.
Yeah.
Do us a favor. Do us a solid.
Yeah. We'd greatly appreciate it. And then, again, QR code on the video or the Linktree link in the podcast will take you there. You can find our social medias and see what we're doing. So that's going to wrap it up for tonight. And we will be back next week with our preview to Coda.
United States Grand Prix.
So close.
So close.
We're so close. Week and a half, and I'll be on my way down there, and then we'll be heading to Coda. Can't freaking wait.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's it for tonight. Catch y'all later.